Welcome back everyone. Zara here again with another great episode of Style Drops. This one is on decision paralysis in home decor. Let's talk about something we don't discuss enough in the design world. The absolute psychological warfare of making a single decorating decision. You know what I'm talking about. That moment when you need to choose a paint or wallpaper selection, and suddenly you're 3 hours deep into a Reddit thread about undertones, questioning your ability to perceive reality, and wondering if agreeable gray is actually agreeable, or just gaslighting you. Welcome to decision paralysis, where every choice feels permanent, every option feels wrong, and your living room has been almost finished for approximately 17 months. Here's the cruel joke about modern home decor. We have more options than ever before, and somehow that's made everything worse. Our grandparents had like 4 paint colors and 3 furniture styles, and they just picked one and moved on with their lives. They weren't agonizing over whether their beige was too yellow or their white was too blue. They weren't spending evenings comparing 47 different shades of gray that all look identical under fluorescent lighting, but might look completely different in north-facing afternoon light on a Tuesday in November. They just bought the sofa, the one sofa, from the one store, and then they sat on it for 30 years without a single moment of regret. Today, we have YouTube videos, where videos can be seen on sofa alternatives everyone needs to consider, or the other major culprit of design paralysis, the constant feed of the newest and most updated home decor trends, only to leave many still in a constant search of the right direction. We have 11 billion options for everything, and instead of making us feel empowered, it's made us feel like we're one wrong throw pillow away from ruining our entire life. Let's be honest about what happened here. Pinterest and Instagram told us that everyone else's home looks like a magazine spread, where a stylist spent 6 hours arranging bowls and books, and strategically placing branches in vases. So now when we try to make our own decisions, we're not just decorating a room, we're trying to create content-worthy perfection on the first try. No pressure though. You can't just buy a rug anymore. You have to research rugs. You have to read 17 blog posts about rug materials. You have to understand the difference between hand-knotted and machine-made. You have to know if jute is in or out this season. You have to determine if the rug will photograph well for that Instagram post you'll maybe take in 6 months. And after all that research, you still can't decide because what if there's a better rug you haven't seen yet? What if the perfect rug is on page 47 of your search results, and you'll never know because you gave up on page 12? So the floor stays bare for months. While you think about it, this is actually what decision paralysis looks like. When one cannot figure out what the best choice is, and even if a decision is made, a fear that they missed something or something better will surface. We've convinced ourselves that every decorating choice is permanent. That once we paint a wall sage green, we're legally obligated to keep it sage green until we sell the house or die, whichever comes first. Choosing the wrong dining table means we'll have to look at our mistake every single day for the rest of our natural lives, haunted by the ghost of the better table we almost bought. Never mind that paint costs around $35 a gallon and takes a weekend to update the color. Never mind that furniture can be sold, donated, or moved to another room. Never mind that most decisions are completely reversible, and far less permanent than we've built them up to be in our anxiety-riddled brains. We've created this mythology, where one wrong choice ruins everything, leaving us with no choices, and deep anxiety of ruining everything. So we live in half-finished spaces, and prefer all neutral interiors to keep the risk low. Decision paralysis has a very specific hunting ground, and that's the internet around 11 p.m., when you should be sleeping. But instead you're reading the 247th review of a coffee table. It starts innocently, you need a coffee table. Simple enough. You'll just do a little research to make sure you get a good one. 6 hours later, you've now have read 400 reviews across 12 websites, joined 3 Facebook groups about furniture, created a spreadsheet comparing dimensions, materials, prices, and shipping times. Developed opinions about mid-century modern versus transitional versus contemporary that you didn't have the previous morning. But, still you have no coffee table, because now you know too much and you've seen too many options, with too many contradictory opinions. This is the ultimate state of limbo. Designing our spaces can be very taxing for some, especially for those who are dependent on outside opinions. This is the very basis of why Style Drops was created, and why this channel likes to take a deep dive into offering insight on the best direction for our spaces. Here are some aspects that might keep someone spiraling from feeling comfortable to moving forward with their projects. First one being perfectionism and fear of regret. Some people get stuck because they're terrified of making the wrong choice. They imagine future regret so vividly that it freezes them in place. This can stem from past experiences where mistakes were harshly criticized. Second reason: information overload. Sometimes it's simply too many options. Research shows that having 30 chairs to choose from is actually more paralyzing than having 6. Our brains weren't designed for infinite choice. Third reason: identity uncertainty. People who aren't quite sure who they are, or what reflects their authentic self, struggle more. Home decor is deeply personal, so if you're still figuring out your identity, every choice feels loaded. Fourth reason: needing external validation. Some people have learned that their value comes from others' approval, so they can't choose until they know what others will think is right. Even when others have the option of obtaining design support, this added insight can even cause more anxiety as they now level up on more self-doubt. Worry that the designer's taste will override their desires. Will they steer me into a direction that I don't really want? The core of decision paralysis is the what-if spiral, and speaking with a designer doesn't force one into anything. A good designer is there to help guide, giving insight into better choices, but ultimately, all choices are yours. It's interesting how design can actually be the catalyst for how we choose to express ourselves in life. Life and design direction need boundaries for what you're comfortable with. Being open to hearing objective directions is a part of the flow of life, but then finding comfort in the fact that you are the one making those final choices is always the desired end result. This is why people end up defaulting to beige everything. Beige can't be wrong, it blends with everything. A lot of decision paralysis comes down to this: we're waiting for permission. Permission to choose what we actually like instead of what we think we should like. Permission to spend money on something frivolous like decor. Permission to make a choice that isn't perfect. Permission to change our minds later if we want to. We're waiting for someone to tell us it's okay to just pick something and see how it goes. If you're stuck in decision paralysis, here's your way out. Limit your options. You're allowed to look at 3 paint colors, not 47. Pick your top 3, and then pick from those. Accept that perfect doesn't exist. There is no objectively perfect choice. There's just the choice you make and then learning to love it. Or at least live with it until you change it. Remember, it's not that deep. It's a throw pillow, not a life partner. It's a wall color, not a face tattoo. The stakes are not as high as your anxiety is telling you they are. Can't pick a rug? Get a small one for the entry and see how you feel. Possibly shop Wayfair for options with lower price points and a great return policy. Set a good enough standard. Stop looking for perfection. Look for, this works and I like it. That's actually what your goal should be. Not perfection. Not transcendental design excellence. The only person being tortured by your indecision is you. Your space doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be functional and comfortable and somewhat reflective of who you are. That's it, that's the bar. And the beautiful irony: the people with the most beautiful pulled-together homes aren't the ones who agonized over every choice. They're the ones who made decisions quickly, adjusted what didn't work, and moved on. They're not smarter or more talented. They just have a higher tolerance for imperfection, and a lower tolerance for living in a state of perpetual, almost done. The bottom line: decision paralysis isn't about decorating. It's about fear. Fear of making the wrong choice. Fear of being judged. Fear of wasting money. Fear of committing to something imperfect. Fear of discovering that even with the right choices, you're still not satisfied. But here's the thing: the paralysis is more painful than any wrong decision you could make. Living in a space that's stuck in limbo because you can't commit to finishing it is worse than living in a space with a few imperfect choices that you can change later. There are no victims in style. Only volunteers who chose paralysis over imperfection and not knowing what the return policy was. Until next time, stylistas. Please, like, subscribe, and share to help this channel grow. This channel is very much needed in the design hemisphere, with the mission of support and validation of owning your own personal style.